Sir.
It's recording right now.
It is, so it doesn't matter. Okay, let's get going then. Okay, welcome to this press conference for two extremely important housing bills. One that's been introduced before, and that is my exclusionary zoning bill. What this would allow, it's a very modest little bill, is simply for municipalities to bring in inclusionary zoning if they so choose. It would simply amend the Planning Act so that that was possible. Right now, the Planning Act is written in such a way that a developer can appeal immediately any move on the municipality's part for inclusionary zoning right to the OMB and probably win. So this would allow municipalities really to get some of their jurisdiction back. Inclusionary zoning exists in hundreds of jurisdictions across North America. The bill does not mandate how much or how, whether voluntary or not. It simply leaves it up to the municipalities. And between last reading of this bill, which passed second reading last year before the House was prorogued, and this reading, we've had dozens of municipalities express support from Toronto right across Ontario. Many have passed actual motions supporting this bill. So we come back strengthened and hope again for second reading passage. The second bill, and we have a number of folk here that are here to support that bill. It was also covered in Ottawa CBC earlier today and yesterday. Really, again, a simple ask, and that is that the Ombudsman have oversight over Tarion. Tarion, as you know, is where homeowners who have shoddy construction or problems with their developers, whether condo owners or single house dwellers or duplex dwellers or any kind of home that's new, are directed to go with their complaints. The problem is that Tarion is staffed mainly and mostly by developers, and one might argue for developers. Andre Morin, as Ombudsman, has asked for Ombudsman oversight, but he's not the first. This goes back many, many years that the Ombudsman Office has asked for oversight, and that we think, certainly in the New Democrats, that Ombudsman oversight is the necessary first step to beginning to turn the situation around. We need an investigation of what's happening at Tarion. We have too many disgruntled and unhappy homeowners that attest that Tarion is not working to serve their purposes. So that's the second bill, and you will hear way more about both bills in just a minute. First of all, I want to welcome Ken Hale. He's the Legal Director of the Advocacy Centre for Tenants Ontario. ACTO is a community-based legal clinic that works to advance and enforce the legal rights of residential tenants. Ken is no stranger to this place, so Ken, say a few words about inclusionary zoning, if you would.
Okay, we believe that all the members of the legislature must accept that adequate housing is fundamental to the success of our communities and to the success of the people that live in those communities. But the current planning process is not producing adequate housing for all the people that live in Ontario. There's a significant minority of people who are missing out on the housing boom, and it's been estimated by Ontario Nonprofit Housing Association, the Co-op Housing Federation, that we need at least 10,000 units of affordable housing brought on stream every year in order to start to meet the demand. And over the last decade, we haven't even reached a third of that. And so we need some means by which more affordable housing units can be brought online, and it becomes a part of the regular planning process by which municipalities plan for the future for all the people that are going to live in their communities in the future. We have 142,000 people on the waiting list for social housing. Those people are not benefiting from the tens of thousands of condominium and single-family homes that are being built, but were municipalities allowed the freedom to require developers of these large projects to include a component in those projects as part of their contribution to the public benefit in return for the private benefit that they're getting from the right to develop, then we could start to address. This would be one of the tools that could be used to address the housing crisis that the people at the bottom are facing. And this is not going to excuse governments from their responsibilities to take on funding, proper funding of affordable housing and the subsidization of individual people who need it, but it's going to ensure that the land and the buildings are available for people who need those subsidies to live in, and it will give municipalities the opportunity to seek a fair share of the benefits for everyone in the community. So our legal clinic and the housing groups that we work with and the legal groups that we work with strongly support this as one of the tools. And we thank Cheri for reintroducing this bill, and we hope that the members of the legislature who supported it last time around are going to be there when their vote is needed this time.
Thanks very much, Ken. And I did want to mention also that ACORN is in the House, a wonderful housing activist group, and so acknowledge their presence here. Brian Eng is the Community Action Specialist for the Wellesley Institute and the facilitator of the Inclusionary Housing Work Group. He has a wonderful website, inclusionaryhousing.ca, and Brian will say more about inclusionary zoning.
Okay, thank you very much. I also want to thank Cheri for this initiative, for introducing this last fall, which gave an opportunity to have public discussion about it and to reintroduce it again, and hopefully to push forward the need for the public discussion on inclusionary housing as a tool. The Wellesley Institute first identified inclusionary housing as part of our Blueprint to End Homelessness in Toronto in 2007. And since then, we've been really looking at this tool. We held a forum in 2008 that included over 150 city planners, policymakers, housing activists, progressive developers to look at inclusionary housing as a tool to increase the supply of affordable housing in Toronto. Out of that came the Inclusionary Housing Working Group. It's a group of people that have been working on this now for a year and a half or so, include